Spika, juzi tulikuwa mji wa Nanyuki tunatengeneza hizi nyumba na tayari tumeanza kutengeneza na vijana wanashukuru na wanasema asanti.
Your time is up, Senator Kinyua. Senator Osotsi, Godfrey Atieno.
Can you press?
Mr. Speaker, thank you for the opportunity. From the onset, I want to declare that, Mr. Speaker, I'm opposed to this bill because this bill, as Senator Mtata has said, it has not healed or cured the issues that were raised in court. Under Article 10, Article 201, Article 206, and 210. It still has loopholes which makes it unconstitutional. Mr. Speaker, you know that the court issued an injunction on the 19th of December 20 on the issue of public participation. This bill, or this process that culminated into this debate today, has not cured the problem of inadequate public participation. Mr. Speaker, if I read through the report in this bill, the committee simply invited the public to present memorandums, and they only had one day where they received oral submission. Mr. Speaker, because this bill affects counties, it was only reasonable that all the 47 counties be involved in public participation. That never happened. Mr. Speaker, when you look at this report, this House has a standard that all reports that come to this House must have an adoption list to it. This report, I have gone through it, Mr. Speaker, and I'm having a copy here. There is no adoption list. So who adopted this report? And I want to ask the clerks who work in committees and our secretariat, you are here to be professional. Give this House or members professional input. But if you allow such omissions to happen on a very important report, you are only giving ammunition to those people who are going to court to reject this bill if it is passed into law. Mr. Speaker, when you look at the bill, allocation of funds from the Affordable Housing Fund, they say the funds will be distributed to National Housing Corporation, Kenya Slum Upgrading, Low Cost Housing and Infrastructure Fund, and the State Department of Housing and Urban Development. Mr. Speaker, for heaven's sake, why would a ministry be involved in affordable housing, construction, and doing all that, when we have an institution called the National Housing Corporation, which is supposed to do that on behalf of the government of Kenya? Mr. Speaker, this bill does not define what gross salary is, what gross income is. It is ambiguous. And I'm concerned, Mr. Speaker, that the space for public participation is not in this bill. Why would we even go to public participation when we know we are not going to listen or incorporate the views of the people who appear? I have gone through the report. The views submitted by the members of public and even government institutions were ignored by the committee. Most importantly, the view by the Kenya Bankers Association, we said that persons who already have their own houses be exempted from this. Why are you forcing people who have houses to be levied this money? And in any case, you have to apply before you get this house. Mr. Speaker, there is also punitive aspects in this bill. The 3% penalty per month is so huge. If you calculate it per annum, it comes to 36%, which is even way beyond the
Senator Osotsi, your time is up. Senator Abbas Mohammed.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, I think, if we keep on bossing and not reading the report, the bill, the report there's a lot of changes that has taken place, actually. Because initially, I was one of the opposers, to be honest with you. But having read the report, I want to commend the committee. They have done a commendable job to include various issues. Honorable Speaker, according to the Bill of Rights, the economic and social rights, it's actually Article 43. It is every person has the right to access and adequate housing, accessible and adequate housing. So, as I talk to you today, Wajir, there's a constitution that is going on. Wajir people have accepted, and there are 200 units already that have started. That means it's affordable and accessible, because there's going 1,000 kilometers. Therefore, let's not oppose these things for the sake of opposing. Two, the county now is included in this bill. Yes. That the committee has included. The county is going to have 5 members as a committee, yes, of which they will receive 0.5% of the levy for their operations, which was not there before. 2, they have reduced the KRA amount. Initially it was 2%, now it is 0.5%. 3, there will be a national board that will receive 2%. That means this board now will take care of the interest of all people. 4, there is what you call the rural housing. If you have a land in Wajir and you want to construct it, then you're allowed to take your title deed to the board, and so that you can be given, that you can be constructed a house where you will be paying 3%. Affordable house. In every country in this world, especially the developed countries, affordable houses are there. The tenants are buying these houses as they stay in that house and they pay rents. I don't see there's something unusual here. There's nothing unusual really. Maybe we need to have, I'll tell my colleagues in the other side, let's accept the bill and then bring some regulations that we can, something like, the amendments and regulations. Probably if somebody has a house and he doesn't want to contribute, then we can change it. Maybe we must also, I know this thing is not favoring the Muslims, but we're changing, we can now bring a regulation to say, and instead of saying a loan or interest, then we say we pay service charge. So this thing is not closed. So with those few remarks, I want to support the bill.
Thank you, Senator Abbas. Senator Siengo Kalunda Beth.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, for giving me this opportunity. Mr. Speaker, sir, I stand to oppose this bill for the very simple reason that it is not friendly to the Kenyans. It is not good for the welfare of Kenyans. Mr. Speaker, when we talk of affordable housing, the houses are for who? Considering a county where I come from, Kitui County, we come from our own houses. We live in the villages. We have our own houses. People have taken loans to construct or to build their own homes. When we talk of houses, who are they for? Taking different professionals. For example, from the teaching profession. Teachers, their first project when they get employed is to build their own houses at home. They took loans. Now here they are going to be penalized if they now default in these houses. How is it going to benefit the teachers, these houses? Mr. Speaker, I say a big no to this bill, and I urge my friends from the other side, please don't pin down Kenyans. Let us all say no to this bill, and then we come up with good mechanism of how to support Kenyans, because the economy is already bad. And now when we are being charged for the housing, our payslips are already bleeding. We are really pained by what we are going through because of this bad economy. Mr. Speaker, this housing bill is a big no for me. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Senator Tobiko Paris.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I am shocked. I am shocked, Mr. Speaker, because of the members from the minority side who are opposing this bill. Mr. Speaker, it is on record that both Azimio and Kenya Kwanza, when we were all campaigning, each side had the housing program as part of their agenda should they take government. Mr. Speaker, is it becoming a problem today because it is their competitors who got to get into government and have gotten the first chance to implement the housing program for Kenyans? Mr. Speaker, I'm also shocked because, Mr. Speaker, a number of people I have heard from the minority side who are against this bill have been with us in the committee, Mr. Speaker, because I want to go on record that I'm the vice chairperson of the Committee on Housing, Roads and Transport, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, we went through memorandums by the public, by many groups, including the Bankers Association, including the Juakali people, Mr. Speaker, Mr. Speaker, including the Matatu people, Mr. Speaker. We have listened to them, those who have appeared before the committee and those who have sent memorandums, Mr. Speaker. And so for any person who would want to say that there was no public participation, I would welcome them.
Senator Sifuna, what's your point of intervention? Give him the mic, Mr. Clark. Proceed, Senator Sifuna.
Mr. Speaker, I'm rising pursuant to Standing Order 105 on responsibility for statements of fact. There is a lie that has been repeated on this floor repeatedly that, in fact, the Kenya Kwanza manifesto and the Azimio manifesto had the very same proposals on housing. Mr. Speaker, we want to put an end to this lie by asking the Honorable Senator Tobiko to substantiate, because I, as a member of the Azimio coalition, do not recall us proposing to tax Kenyans to the bone to build houses that they do not need. So I would want her to table those two manifestos, point out to this house where it says we are going to tax Kenyans in order for them to have these affordable houses. I thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Proceed, Senator Tobiko, and where appropriate, respond to the point of order in terms of
Mr. Speaker, I was very clear. I said we all had in our manifestos issues to do with housing programs. I have not talked about taxing Kenyans, but we all had plans to improve the living standards of Kenyans, which include the housing, improving their living standards, Mr. Speaker, by giving them, livable environments, Mr. Speaker, housing being part of that, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, Article 43(1) of the Constitution talks about the highest standards of health for Kenyans, accessible and adequate housing, Mr. Speaker. And so we are not going out of the Constitution by passing this law so that we have Kenyans getting adequate and affordable housing, Mr. Speaker. Which we should also have reasonable standards of sanitation, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, when we were going through this, in fact, a number of the groups that appeared before the committee are Nairobians, and I'm shocked because Senator Sifuna is a member of that committee. And he was there when some of these groups appeared, Mr. Speaker. And if there are people who need housing, Mr. Speaker, it is people in the slums. In Nairobi, as it is in Kajiado today, Geshagi and Majengo and other areas of our towns. Mr. Speaker, I thought this is something we all aspired to do for Kenyans. Mr. Speaker, what is paining majority of the people here is that it is those of us who have salaries, it is those of us with pay slips who are going to bear the burden for the sake of the majority of Kenyans who do not have. Mr. Speaker, I have agreed to be taxed. I have agreed to contribute in order for my...
Senator Tobiko, your time is up. Senator Keroche Tabitha.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, sir, for giving me this opportunity to support this bill. I know this bill has been politicized for so many days and months, but I only remember the time we came in power and were taken through induction, and I remember being given how this housing, affordable housing, will go through. I mean, the process, its process. And I remember it's a very good thing because it will ensure everybody has a decent home. I remember the money that those people are paying the rent as today is the same money they used to pay and then own that house. It is the same money that they will pay, and I hope Sifuna is listening to me, Senator Sifuna. It's the same money they will pay. If somebody was paying 2,000 shillings, if somebody was paying 2,000 shillings, he'll use the same 2,000 shillings to pay the same rent he was paying and finally own this home. The money that should be deducted will be refunded at a certain period. When you go to Europe, we all fly to Europe. We come back to say how people are living well, how everybody is living in a decent life. That's how it was done. That's how it was done. And I think we'll be the first in Africa to ensure that our lives now, or how we live, our people are living decent lives like the way we compare ourselves other countries like the Europe. So let's not politicize this when we know.
Senator Tabitha, resume your seat. There is a point of order from Senator.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, for giving me this opportunity. Allow me to inform the Senator for Great County of Nakuru that you cannot compare Kenya with Europe.
Senator
Mr.
Beth.
Speaker.
Senator Beth. Senator Beth.
You
Resume
cannot
your seat.
compare Kenya with
Senator
Europe.
Siengo.
When we are talking
Senator
of Kenya
Beth
and...
Shengo, resume your seat, please. Resume your seat. Your intervention is on a point of information, but I didn't hear her accepting that information unless she desires to be informed. Senator Tabitha, do you desire to be informed by Senator Beth?
Since now I've had the information she wanted to give me, I don't need to be informed.
Proceed.
And I would really want to ensure that the senator understands what I said. We all fly to Europe and we come back here in Kenya and start talking of the Europe, how people are living decently. That's how they started 100 years ago, others 300 years ago. Senator and that is now we, the Kenya Kwanza Senator government, Tabitha. We are the ones to start.
Resume your seat. What's your point of order, Senator Okoiti?
I'm one fellow who doesn't like standing on points of order, but I'm compelled to do so. Pursuant to order number 105. Can the Honorable Senator substantiate her claim that Europe, the housing system in Europe, is anchored on similar parameters that are in this bill, especially the taxation of salaried employees to provide housing for the rest. I think I would love to see that substantiation from the Honorable Senator for Nakuru.
Proceed, Senator Tabitha.
What I think I need to tell my senator from Busia is that Europe is where it's where it is because of some people took some effort and made it be where it is. We are the people now to ensure Kenya gets to the next level. We have no alternative. It's only that you regret maybe having been the senator at this time, but you have no alternative now but to take. Okay, for me, I think for me.
Proceed to conclude.
Can I conclude because I think I have only maybe a minute now. A minute now. Let me conclude.
Order members, allow Senator Kerojo to be heard in silence. Conclude your comments. Proceed, Senator Tabitha.
I think everybody. We keep on saying, how's it? Yes, I think we have one saying that is across the board. At we don't nyumba haijengwi the same, as equals the same, all of them. So how Europe did theirs, they did theirs. We have a formula now on how to do ours, and ours is to ensure people can pay this, and they use the same money. They use the same money that they were paying rent. Let's not confuse Kenyans. The same money they were using, they are paying rent is the.
Your time is up, Senator Tabitha. Senator Tabitha, your time is up. Please, and listen to the chair. Senator Sifuna.
Mr. Speaker, you know we want to have an orderly session and we have no intention of disrupting debate. But pursuant to Standing Order 98.3, the Speaker is required to make a decision on each point of order. Now, Senator Omtata has raised a point of order on a point that was brought to the floor by the Senator for Nakuru, a claim that she has made. I have not heard the chair rule on the point of order by Senator Omtata. And if we are going to have orderly debate, Honorable Chair, I beseech you, let me finish. Let me finish.
The chair is responding to order.
How do you respond to something I have not finished? How do you respond? I have not finished.
Resume your seat, please.
Let me finish.
Resume your seat.
Allow me to finish.
I'll call you out of order.
Allow me to finish, Speaker.
I will call you
Allow
out
me to
of
finish.
order.
Allow me to finish.
I will call you out of order.
Allow
Senator
me to
Sifuna.
finish.
Resume your seat.
Before you respond, allow me to finish.
Resume your seat, Senator Sifuna. Now, listen, Senator Sifuna. Senator Omtata raised a point of order to be substantiated. Senator Keroche indeed attempted to substantiate upon the chair asking her to proceed, and she did that subject to the time limit that her time went out. And therefore, that was sufficient since the chair had directed that she proceeds. Senator Cherargei, proceed. Senator Cherargei.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I rise by supporting this God-sent bill before the House, Mr. Speaker. I think this is long overdue. We should not waste a lot of time because Kenyans and young people, including Nandi, and I've just interacted with Nairobians a few minutes ago, and they are yearning for this, Mr. Speaker. It is sad that the people who are crying the loudest are the ones who need these houses, Mr. Speaker. Because most houses in slums, we need to give dignity to Kenyans, Mr. Speaker. And when the courts ruled that we must have a legislation, it was important, Mr. Speaker. I want to say, number two, Mr. Speaker, I'm happy this bill has ensured that the county governments has a role to play. And Senate being protectors of devolution, Mr. Speaker, we now have a role in the affordable housing program, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, the third point I wanted to make is on the issue of the wording of the bill. I agree that it should be called rural and urban affordable housing program so that people in Chepalungu and Kable, Lartet, and even Taptengele and other areas of this